All right, let's consider Newton's gravitational law. It's of the form. Like this. You have m1 here, m2 over there. You have a vector going like this. R. So ER is in this direction, since it's like this, per definition. And the force on M2, yeah, that's F. And can you see, there is a negative sign here, because it's in the opposite direction than the radial direction. So this is saying something about the force between a point mass M1 and another point mass M2. But what happens if we have a gravitational rod, like this, for example? And here is your point mass. And now the total force from a rod, that would be, like summing one particle here, one here, all the way to here. All the interactions. You can feel the force like that, the force like that, like this, and to those guys here. You have to sum them all using Newton's gravitational law to find out the total force here. And also, another thing, sometimes we are writing like this, mg, right? So, let's say m2g. For example, if this was Earth and this is you, then the force is your mass times the g field, right? So then you see that g equal minus g m1 divided by r square er. So the g field is in the same direction as the force, right? It's also negative here. But the g field has no, it's only a field from this particle m1 as a source. So we're going to start with this a little bit in the following problem. Thus, let us study a long rod. And here is our m2, and this is a m1, if you like. M1. So there is a Newton's gravitational law says gm1 m2 over r square. In this case, the coordinate system is here, and the r vector is over here, and the force is what this is feeling is a force in this direction. It's the same direction as the basis vector, thus no minus sign. The force is in this direction. And it can be written m2g, as I said. Thus, g, the g field in this point, the origin, is gm1 over r square, and in that direction. Yeah, okay. Only that m1 is actually an infinitesimal element, since it's going to be difficult for us to sum all the point masses here. We will instead integrate, which is equivalent to summing them all in a convenient way. So this contribution to the G field is just one of many, many, many. So it's a rather small contribution. Let's call it dg. And that's this g over r squared dm. And in that direction, the G field is here. And thinking about symmetry in this problem, I mean, you're going to have a G field in this direction, and you're going to have a corresponding in this direction. Yeah, when we add those two, you're going to get something in the y direction. But the x component here, the x component there, they are equal in size but opposite. Think about one vector here, then one vector here. When you add those vectors in the x direction, it will be 0. So in the total problem, when we integrate all of them, there will not be any gx component. So we dismiss that problem immediately, and we concentrate on the G field in the y direction instead. So for this infinitesimal element, you have a certain length, let's call that dg. The length is actually here, g over r squared dm. But we focus on the y direction, so it's the length, and the y direction then is sine theta. That. So, and dg is this one. And this is what I write here, right? Then suddenly, oh my god, sin theta a over r, can that be true? Yeah. Isn't that exactly what the definition is? A, that's the distance from the origin to this rod. And theta is here, and here is the r distance. Yeah, sine theta is A divided by r. Indeed, so that's what you have here. And then the mass element can be written in a different way. It's the one-dimensional mass density, often called lambda, times the length of the element, that we will call dx. And then we put it all in here. And now, in order to sum all those contributions, we integrate, and then you get the total gy here, and also the integral here, and then get rid of the constants from out with those from the integral, g lambda a, and you're left with that was the lambda dx, but the x is still here, and then the r cubed is still here. Okay, so that integral must now be solved. Okay, so what is r? Yeah, you can see that is x squared plus a squared. No matter where you are, if you're over here, it's still a, and just another x value. So it's still x squared plus a squared. So that we can put in here. And then we have to look up in the table what kind of antiderivative this is. And it turns out it's this one. So, and then you put in L half here, then minus minus, those will add those terms. So you will just get L, this guy here. And then the a square, one of those will disappear with that one. So this is the final result. And usually in a rod problem, we say, all right, I think the rod is very long. So L is a big number here. The total length of the rod. Otherwise, you know, what we calculate here might not be exactly the same further away here, the G field. So let's suppose L is large, and then you see, yeah, in the square root here, If this is a very large number and this is quite a small number, then we can disregard that term. And this is what you get, 2g lambda over a. And this is a standard result. This is the g field in the y direction. So if you stand here, and this is quite long, you will feel a field g in the y direction. And the force is, of course, m2 times that field, if you like to know the force. So here is the field, gy here, and times m2 will be the force. Of course, the force equal m2gy. If you were a particle over there. Okay, now I'm gonna solve this problem in a completely different way. And that is, for those who have studied multidimensional analysis in mathematics, they know there is something called Gauss theory. And in classical mechanics, we can prove that if we have a Gaussian surface, which is a closed surface, then the mass inside that closed surface we called M enclosed here. And this is 1 minus 1 over 4 pi g, the gravitational constant, multiplied with the flow of the g field through a surface area element, dA. So let's look at this rod again. Length L half minus L half, so total length L. And a closed surface we could make, for example, a cylinder. So surface 1, it's this part here. Surface 2 is the end surfaces here and here. And together they form a cylinder, which is a closed surface around the rod. And if we are here at this point here, and we think about, okay, now I say the x-axis is over here, the red line here, then in polar coordinates you could draw a radial vector down here, but the g field is upwards. It will feel forces or up to the this massive rod. So it's upwards. Thus gi here equal minus gi basis vector er, because the radial vector is in this situation in the other direction than this. That's why we have a minus here. And you also have a surface element here, but that is always out from the surface. So in this case downwards, or in that case upwards. Here it would be to the right, there to the left. By convention, that's what we say, a normal direction from the surface outward. So that, since the radial vector is from the origin to that point there, yeah, okay, so that must be the positive direction here. So the closed surface have two parts, Roman 1 and Roman number 2. And let's start with Roman number 1. So we put in this constant here, okay. And what is g on the surface? Here, yeah, I say that, but wherever you are on this surface, and in particular here, it's like this. And also if we took a point here, since the radial vector is then upward, but the g would then be downward, it's still true, this minus sign here. So we can just put that in. So that will be perfect for a lot of points on this surface except near the end points. But later we will make this L here be very large, so it will be true for almost all the points here. That the G field is directed in this way and given by this formula here. So, okay, and then the dot product with the dA, that dA, ER, put in there. But the GI here is just a constant, and minus is just a constant. So we take that out from the integral. So you get this. And then we integrate ER dot ER equal 1. So you're just left with the area element and integrate that. That will be the total area of this part of this cylinder here. And that will be just 2πr is the circumvent distance here, and times L. The total length here is L, so it will be just 2πa times L. The radius, well, what is that? A here. So then you can simplify and you get this. And then to those surfaces here. But if you now think about the long rod, this area will be extremely large, while this area here and here just continue to be relatively small. So since the flow here, this integral here, will depend on the size of the area here, it's we can realize that it will not be very large. So I immediately just say, yeah, it is approximately 0 if L, the length here, is very large. Okay, so according to this Gauss theorem, M enclosed equal this. It's what we calculated here, and that is over the enclosed surface, so it will be the integral over 1 and 2, but 2 is negligible, so it's just 1. And that 2 here is about 0. And the mass here, the enclosed mass, that's just the rod. And then that can be written as lambda times the length of the rod, which is L. So that's what you have here. And now you can simplify. Gi equal this. So you in fact get exactly the same G field, 2G lambda over A, like when we integrated 2G lambda over A. So that was a funny problem where we used a little bit mathematical analysis. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.